Well, it's been a very long time waiting for this moment. And all I can tell you is that I am deeply proud and privileged to stand before you as the new Labour Prime Minister of this country.
Tony Blair whipped up a storm when he arrived on the political scene. The young and dynamic Labour leader won the 1997 UK elections in a landslide victory and brought an end to nearly 2 decades of Conservative rule, establishing a new era for British politics. But then came the Iraq War.
Tonight, British servicemen and women are engaged from air, land and sea. Their mission? To remove Saddam Hussein from power and disarm Iraq of its weapons of mass destruction.
Once revered for changing Britain, Tony Blair found himself embroiled in controversy, and the public's trust in him began to erode. After becoming party leader in 1994, a charismatic Blair reformed his party under the rebrand New Labour, offering a middle way between conservative Thatcherite politics and traditional socialism which aimed to appeal to all social classes. Blair went on to win an election landslide in 1997. For his supporters, this reinvigoration meant a focus on social justice, education and economic reforms. But following a successful first term, and just months after re-election, the World Trade Center was attacked in New York, and Blair pledged to stand by and support his US ally.
Here in Britain, stand shoulder to shoulder with our American friends in this hour of tragedy. And we, like them, will not rest until this evil is driven from our world.
America has no truer friend than Great Britain.
US President George W. Bush vowed to retaliate against the Taliban and Al-Qaeda in his war on terror. With the help of the UK and other allies, the US invaded Afghanistan 1 month later. Then, in 2003, the multinational force led by the US and the UK invaded Iraq. The UK deployed 46,000 troops to Iraq, and between 2003 to 2009, the total cost of military operations was £8.6 billion. The war toppled President Saddam Hussein, justified by claims he held weapons of mass destruction, which were later proven to be false. Hundreds of thousands of Iraqis were killed during the war, in the violence that followed, and as a result of a collapsed infrastructure. 179 British soldiers and 5,000 US troops also died in battle.
To retreat now, I believe, would put at hazard all that we hold dearest. Turn the United Nations back into a talking shop, stifle the first steps of progress in the Middle East, tell our allies that at the very moment of action, at the very moment when they need our determination, that Britain faltered.
Blair's decision to unwaveringly support George Bush and the invasion of Iraq eroded his popularity at home. It was met with fierce opposition from within his own party and the wider public. Plagued by claims that he had lied to the British public, as well as the failure of the mission in Iraq, the Labour leader's 10 years in office ended with his resignation in 2007.
Responsibility, but not a regret for removing Saddam Hussein. I think he was
Be quiet, please.
I think that he was a monster. I believe he threatened not just the region, but the world. And I do genuinely believe that the world is safer as a result.
In 2009, the Chilcot Inquiry was launched, an independent inquiry into Britain's involvement in the Iraq War. It scrutinised the role of the former Prime Minister and questioned the legality of the war. A damning report was published in 2016 that found Blair chose to join the US invasion before peaceful options had been exhausted and had deliberately exaggerated the threat posed by Saddam Hussein.
The decision to invade Iraq in 2003 on the basis of what the Chilcot report calls, and I quote, flawed intelligence about the weapons of mass destruction has had a far-reaching impact on us all. It's led to a fundamental breakdown in trust in politics and in our institutions of government.
Shortly after his resignation, Tony Blair was appointed as Middle East peace envoy and tasked with negotiating peace between Israelis and Palestinians. His critics were outraged, saying his involvement in Iraq made him unfit for the role. Blair later stepped down from his role as peace envoy in 2015, but his career continued to thrive, consulting for Arab and Central Asian governments and US investment bank JP Morgan, reportedly netting him millions of pounds. But it had also opened him up to further scrutiny in the public eye. 25 years since he first took office, Blair's legacy remains contested. His supporters praise him for rebranding the Labour Party. His critics blame him for lying to the British public and dragging the UK into a war under false pretenses.